Hi there everybody. I'm going to give you a quick tutorial on how to get going with the newer versions of Phazon. Phazon 1.14 will be out by the time you see this, and it changes up a little bit about how this is handled. So I wanted to give you a good tutorial so nobody got stuck. So what you're going to need, I guess, to get started are two things. You're going to need a current version of Phazon. For me, that's 1.14. Depending when you're reading this, it may be higher. You're going to want to head over to the latest release channel on Discord, and it should be pretty easy to find. What Phazon is going to be modifying is some version of the Dolphin emulator installation. So I assume most of you will already have the Dolphin emulator. If you don't, for whatever reason, head on over to the Dolphin emulator website, download a recent version of their emulator, extract it to your desired location, and then make sure you run it at least once. That part's important, so let me explain. Dolphin, when it's run the first time, will generate some files and folders, and if those files and folders are not generated, Phazon will likely get confused and you will not be able to generate your UI. So all that is to say, it's important that you make sure you run it at least once. But moving on to the actual Phazon installation, open up your archive, unzip it. It's pretty fast. Phazon's not that big. The only thing that takes a little while now is ImageMagick is included in Phazon, so the there's a little bit larger file size. You can see ImageMagick is here. You don't need to do anything anymore. You don't need to install ImageMagick yourself. All the files are there already. So we're good to go already. We can launch into Phazon and just start using it. So you can right-click Phazon UI, hit Run with PowerShell. It says No Dolphin User Data Found. Select your Dolphin Documents folder. So if you have a normal installation of Dolphin, you can go to the My Documents folder and you'll find this Dolphin Documents folder, and that's what you can give it. If you're like me and you're using a portable install, you can go to your Dolphin directory and you'll see this file, portable.txt, sitting in the directory. And when this portable.txt is sitting there, it tells this Dolphin installation that it wants all of its user data to be kept within its own folder. It doesn't want to use them in My Documents. It wants to create this compartmentalized version that has its own copy of controller files, and custom textures, and game saves, and all of your user data. So for me, I just want to find where this folder is. It's on the desktop, Dolphin, User, and say OK. So once you've given it this folder for either your portable install or your normal install, Phazon UI boots up. This is all you need to give it. You need to give it the folder for Dolphin and nothing else anymore. So I'm just going to generate a quick UI. We're not going to dwell on these settings too much right now. So I'm going to go to Donkey Kong Country Returns, which is 3. And then there's more options here, but again, we're not going to mess with them right now. So I'm just going to run the script, which is 8. And then it's asking which controller file you want to use for your bindings. I have a bunch of bindings here in my Dolphin folder. This is stuff I've messed with at certain points in time. We're not going to use any of these. And below the dashed line, Phazon has presets that are built in. In this case, for Donkey Kong Country Returns, we have default keyboard mouse, which, as you would expect, plays on a keyboard and mouse, and default controller, which should be a generic dual analog controller. So I think I'm going to say go ahead, make one for a controller and tell it 18. It says trying to create a new config file, default controller.ini, but the file already exists. Can I overwrite it? If this is a file you care about, don't say yes. It's not a file I care about, so I can tell it to delete it. So it says no further errors detected in input config, and then it just goes through and it quickly generates a set of custom button prompts based on what you told it. Usually this doesn't take very long. Most games are very, very fast. A couple of them probably have a lot of textures, but most of them are very, very fast. Once it's through the UI, it generates a splash, and then it says custom UI generated an output folder. It says it needs to be moved into the SF8 folder. Just so you're aware, SF8 is Donkey Kong Country Returns code, 3-digit code or 3-character code within the Dolphin folder. So we're going to check them now. It's asking if it can copy them, so we'll say, sure, you can copy them. It says script complete, returning to Phazon UI. We're back at the main menu, but we've done everything we need to do, so let's quit. Let me turn on my controller here real quick. I don't think it'll matter for you guys, but so in Dolphin, before we get started, we want to make sure we have the controller set up right. Donkey Kong Country Returns is a Wii game, which means it uses Wiimotes. So we go to the Wiimote section, and Phazon moved the controller binding file into Dolphin for us. So we can pick it, we can load it. It looks like I already had it loaded, but just so you can see what it looks like when you load a file, it should change something on the screen. So this is the one we used to make a custom UI. The last thing we need to check is the graphics tab. Open up graphics, go to advanced, and make sure load custom textures is enabled. If this isn't enabled, you won't see any of the custom textures in game. Optionally, you can also turn on prefetch custom textures. It's not mandatory. What it does is it moves textures that you're going to be using into your RAM so that Dolphin can access them a little bit faster. It can reduce things like micro stutter, but it is rather RAM intensive for large packs, so make sure you have enough RAM to support whatever it is you're trying to do. However, we just want to check that Donkey Kong Country Returns loads up correctly, so let's hit play. The first thing we should see is the splash screen, which we do. I don't know why it's being difficult. Thank you, OBS. So on the splash screen here, you see Phazon UI version 1.14, which is exactly what we were using, and you see GameScript version 1.07, which is just the version of Donkey Kong Country Returns that we use to generate. So let me click this window. Loads up into the game, and it says press A to play. You can see that with the Xbox prompts. I'm going to toggle off the textures for a second here. You can see now what the default textures look like. So when you're using Phazon, ideally you should pick the right button pack. I chose Xbox One, so I have an Xbox One controller. But if you have a PS4 controller, you can choose that button pack. You can use a GameCube button pack. Obviously, you can do keyboard, mouse. There really are very few limits to what you can do. So I hope this has helped you guys out, gotten you started with Phazon. If you have any questions, concerns, thoughts, feedback, ideas, whatever, feel free to drop by the Discord and let me know. But hopefully this is all you need to get started. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you guys can make some cool custom user interfaces for Dolphin games. And I'll see you next time. Take it easy.